welcome, welcome, welcome. We are back in the ladies' lounge. It is a new week. Well, I can't say a new month because I saw y'all last week. So, but we are back. I am so excited. Hey, 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 y'all. What's up? What's up? What's up? We are in the new week, y'all. You may want to tune in, so I'm gonna give y'all some time to go ahead and hit that live because this is definitely a conversation that you don't want to miss tonight. And I
Yeah.
hope that everyone has had an amazing Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to you, to all the fathers that are out here watching us live. I hope you guys had an amazing day. Let's just get into it. Let's not hold y'all any longer. So, welcome back to the Ladies Lounge where real conversations lead to real healing. I am your host, Britt Danielle. You already know. And tonight we are diving deep into a conversation that is long overdue. Okay. We are here to talk about what the month of June is really all about, and that's men's mental health. And we're pulling back layers on what it truly means to be strong. So tonight's episode is titled Man Enough to Heal, the Power in Vulnerability. And we are joined by the powerful voice here in the Ladies Lounge. We want to welcome back CEO Albert Shaw. I am so excited, y'all, for this conversation tonight. I'm telling y'all, fellas, this one is for you. So, ladies, make sure you are also tuned in as well. Everybody get your notepads because you could definitely take something from this conversation. If you are raising a son, if you have, a male partner, or you just coexist with men in this world, and you definitely want to, we all want to come together and make sure that we are building each other up. So tonight we're talking mental health, masculinity, healing, and why vulnerability is not a weakness, but it is a superpower. So get comfortable. Y'all already know what time it is here in the Ladies Lounge. Again, grab those notebooks. Let's lean in because the healing starts now. As always, we go over some rules here in the Ladies Lounge. We just ask that you are respectful, ask questions, engage actively, okay? And most importantly, have fun. Y'all know we keep it real raw and uncut here in the Ladies Lounge. We love to have fun, but we're going to have these real conversations as well. So, again, welcome back, Albert Shaw. Welcome back.
Hey, 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 hey. What's up?
How are
I'm so
you?
excited. I'm so excited about this conversation today.
What part of the conversation are you excited about?
The whole thing. The whole thing, Brittany, the entire thing, because typically when I come on here, I'm a frequent flyer here at the Ladies Lounge. So um I'm on a few episodes, so I'm not new to the Ladies Lounge. So typically when we talk, I kind of go off the cuff. I may have some notes and I may reference them, but this time um, I was intentional about the notes that I took because I want to be intentional about the things that I'm going to say this evening. Because, like you said, Brittany, um, this is a very serious conversation, and it's a long overdue conversation, and we have it, but we don't have it enough.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then I just want to also too just reiterate the tone of the ladies lounge, right? So this is a safe space that we have created for everybody to heal. Although this is the ladies lounge, this does not mean that this space is just for ladies. As you can see, as Albert said, he is a frequent flyer here, and as always, we welcome him back. And I'm even so excited. I'm about to even probably turn this over and let him go ahead and host tonight's show because as much as I'm telling everybody else to get their notepad and pen together, I need to make sure I have mine as well because I don't want to miss anything that is going to be shared here in tonight's conversation.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. Let's get into it. So let's talk about breaking the silence. Like why men don't talk. So y'all already know your girl got your questions for you. So just sit back and relax. So Albert, growing up, a lot of men were taught to man up,
Hmm.
don't cry,
Yeah,
or be tough, especially in the Black community. How
absolutely.
have these cultural messages shaped the way men deal with pain or even express emotions? And when did you personally realize that silence wasn't strength?
So I wrote a quote down here. This is an original by me. It says, I grew up thinking being a man meant holding it all in, showing no weakness. But I realized that silence wasn't strength, it was survival. And survival isn't the same as healing.
Like we're gonna let the people chew on that a little bit. Like you just see, this is why we always invite Albert back because he be coming with it. He be coming with it. Repeat that one more time for the people in the back, if you don't mind.
Yeah. I grew up thinking being a man meant holding it all in, showing no weakness. But I realized that silence wasn't strength, it's survival. And survival isn't the same as healing.
It's not. When did you write that, if you don't mind me asking?
Today for tonight's conversation. I have a lot of original quotes and things that I kind of work through to be able to present this conversation in a way that someone can come back to it and listen to it again or share it with a man that they may know, um, and it be just as resourceful for them too.
Right. Right. No, I definitely understand. Now the whole growing up in our community, because I've heard this, I've even been told this a time or two, like you don't let them see you sweat, right?
Yeah,
That's what they used to say, or that's what I've heard growing up. But like
yeah,
the whole thing, like man up, don't
yeah.
cry, be tough. Why? Like, how do you think that that actually has something to do with shaping why men don't talk now today in 2025? Why it's, well, I'm gonna hold off on the conference. Like, we're gonna talk about this next week or something.
Um, you're talking about as far as the whole dynamic about how men are taught to just kind of man so it's a few things, right? It's a societal thing, right? There comes a type of stature when you are considered a man in this society, no matter what color you are. Men in all forms, it's almost like this extra pressure. We weren't just taught that as black men; all men were pretty much
Right,
taught. So
right,
it's a societal thing, but then when you get into this conversation with African American men, well, there's a whole other layer that makes it a lot more complex than just being a man in society. Now you're a black man in society, which changes the dynamic a whole lot because the way we're shaped is based on what we have to deal with in our culture. What it means to be a white male is not the same thing that it means to be a black male. It's not the same. So we're taught to be even harder. You know,
hmm
society already tells men that they have to be hard and not show emotions, but it's like 10 times that for black men because we're already a disparity already.
right,
So it's like we feel like we got to work twice as hard. We got to be just as masculine, you know, to in order to achieve and have. And so it's like for us, it's an extra layer that makes it even harder, especially, with our history. It's a lot to be a African American man. And if we even go back, as far as, you know, um, slavery, you know, and some of the conditioning that we still have as a result of that trauma. And it was just passed down from generation to generation. And here you have us. This is where we are with it now. This is
right.
why we're having conversations about vulnerability in men.
Right. And I think too, just even us as women to repeat that, like, when we are raising a man child to say, oh, you got to man up. But what does that really mean? You get what I'm saying? Like, what is it that
Yeah,
you're really doing to the cognitive at that point to say you have to man up? Because I didn't even know what that meant, for me growing up. And then to be able to say that to, like as a mother to a boy child, a man child, like you gotta be tough. Like men don't cry. What? That is crazy work. Thank
Yeah.
God I've never said that to my son. Let me just put that out there.
Yeah,
But
yeah, of course.
to the women who do that, like that's crazy work to because
Mm,
we shape we
yeah.
shape the men today, we meaning
Hmm.
women, the women who are
Yeah.
raising these man child, especially if it's not a positive male role model in their life. So that also, that statement, those phrases also start with us as the women. Like we're saying this, but then we're sending them out there in the world to then now when they get in a relationship, now it's they don't have the emotional intelligence because what? I'm out here, I'm human, I'm feeling the feels, and you mean,
Yeah.
but I was told I gotta man up.
Okay. So look, I have another one to share, another gem,
Okay.
because literally the things that you're saying tie all into my points, every single
Okay.
thing. So it says we're taught to protect ourselves from pain by not feeling it, but that pain doesn't go away. It just buries itself deeper and shows up in other ways like anger, addiction, and broken relationships.
Mm, mm, mm. This conversation, this topic is so deep. Like we always do that. We always go there.
I mean, because this is the thing. If we're gonna have the conversation, we gotta have the conversation.
Let's
You
talk about
know,
it.
and for us men, this toxic way that we were raised, this toxic masculinity is really hurting us out here because this is why we have so many instances of men that are so angry. They have so much
Mhm.
anger because they haven't been taught to release their emotions because they was told to man up. And to man up means to suck up how you feel and do what you
Right.
got to do. So there's never a men are taught not to feel.
Mhm.
They're taught not to feel.
Uh-huh.
So, but emotions and feelings are a very real experience. So when you tell someone not to feel something that's natural, naturally, that's going to manifest some type of way, whether it's an
Right.
addiction or being an angry person or somebody that can't keep relationships because
Right.
that stuff is just sitting inside. So it's like that's why you have men. The suicide rate for men is 2 times higher than that of women. More women attempt suicide, but more men are successful at suicide. So when we talk about being a man and being vulnerable, it's a heavy thing because I got brothers out here who's losing their lives because they don't know how to express themselves. They don't know that it's okay to be vulnerable and to be honest and to
Mhm.
express how they feel, you
Right.
know. And that's what we need. We need to, be able to be in that space where men know that it's safe to express yourself, and you don't have to just suck it up because at the end of the day, we're humans. And I think that's the kind of messed up thing about gender roles is that one thing is applied to one gender and one thing isn't applied to another gender, but nobody's considering that these people are just human first.
Right.
A woman's anger is the same as a man's anger. A man's sadness is the same sadness as a woman's sadness.
Right.
So to strip those things away by saying, "Oh, you got to suck it up, or you need to be a man, or you got to," well, you're denying somebody the ability to express something natural.
Do you think that that also aids in men not wanting to seek help, like therapy,
Hell yeah,
mentorship?
yeah, because it's so. This is the thing is men, and I don't know why it's like that. But ego is a big thing. It don't matter if you're a self-aware man or you're a man that's somewhat more on the ignorant side. For some reason, it's just how we work. Our egos, it, it wouldn't let us get feel feel enough to even be open to therapy. You know what I mean? Like most
Right.
guys aren't because we already aren't willing to open up. So to open up to a stranger doesn't make sense to us because we're already guarded. So it's like that's why I believe a lot of men they don't seek therapy because men want to express themselves, but a lot don't know how. And because of this whole manly complex, seeking help looks like weakness.
Mm,
You
mm.
know what I mean? Even though you know you need the help. But it's like,
Right.
man, I ain't trying to look like no punk out in these streets. You know what I mean?
And that's so like that's crazy work that is even still a thing. Like it's really sad because
Yeah,
you guys need that outlet. Like men need it. You guys have to
yeah,
talk. Like there's things that, for single moms who that raise these men and you try to go to your mom, it's only so much that you could talk to her about. Or even
right.
if you come home to your partner, I may not understand. I don't understand what it is to be a male out here and, in today's world.
Yeah.
So I always and I will stand 10 toes down and say that it is okay for men to go seek help, and you'd be surprised when you go. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. It just means that you just have to release. You got to release. We all have to release, but
Yes, we
especially
do.
for men, because women, we gonna talk. Okay, we say
Yeah,
that often. That is what
yeah,
we gonna do. We
yeah,
talk.
yeah,
But for
y'all
men,
are.
men have to like. I don't want to tell people what to do, but like it's just imperative that men start to break the silence and speak up.
I'm gonna say it for you, Brittany. Go get therapy, guys. Go get it because it's something that if more men, especially black men, were self-aware and they knew how to work through the trauma and the PTSD from the past and all of these expectations of being a man, you know, I think that we could prevent some suicides and some
Mhm.
murders if we
Mhm.
have people to get seek therapy and get help.
Right,
A lot of things that people deal with only take talking about and just getting some perspective on it.
right,
And some people just want to talk, but because we don't know how, we're not taught to express it, we internalize it. And
right,
however that comes out is how it comes out, unfortunately. So if you don't have anybody to talk to in a therapeutic way, I mean, even if you don't get an actual therapist, if you have a friend that will allow you to just talk uninterrupted, where you can just, get out how you feel, like that's fine. You don't have because therapy can be expensive, low key. But if you can real talk. But if you have a friend or you have a circle, that's why having a good circle is so important because you can go and talk to your good friends in confidence and get stuff off of your chest. There's
right.
no reason to have to just walk around angry and mad and bitter and upset, and you feel like, no, we don't have to live like that. You don't
You
have to.
really don't. Now, okay, so we talked about breaking the silence, right? Because
Mhm.
y'all know we do groundwork here in the Ladies Lounge also. But you've also shared with us in previous episodes. So please make sure you guys go back and watch those episodes because we have some really, really great conversations. But for people who may not know, just to give them a little background story about you, what did healing look like for you?
I'm actually in the process of healing now. You
Mm,
know, believe it or not, this is a really interesting topic for the stage that I'm going through in my life because right now I'm working with my therapist and myself through a lot of the traumatic things that happened in my childhood and how those things shaped who I was today, who I believed I was. And who I see myself to be. And I'm finding that in this process of healing, Carl Jung, the psychiatrist, the well known one, he called it the process of individuation. And that's when a person really comes to themselves and they kind of grow out of their shell. So they release all of the trauma, they work through the shadows that they have, and they start to become a better version of themselves. And so it's been heavy. It's been really
Mhm.
heavy working through, these things and seeing the origins of some of my behaviors and my thought processes. And so now that I'm able to see them for what they are, now I'm able to address them. And
Mm,
so the healing, it feels good. It's a little uncomfortable because you have to relive some things. You got to really think through some, and you have to be honest, dead
mm,
honest with yourself. Honesty is the best policy when you're trying to heal,
mm.
because you can't heal under faulty pretenses. So, like
Right.
for me, it was about just laying it all on the table, understanding where, certain thinking came from, and also releasing a lot of things. Healing for me looked like releasing a lot of things, whether they were expectations of myself, of other people, um, the way I view certain things, the way I handle things. Like it just, it's like a release of an old version of yourself. And so healing, even though it's a messy process, it does feel good and liberating.
That is true. I mean, I know tonight's episode is dedicated to the men, but just to piggyback off of what you said, because I am also doing the work. I even beefed up my therapy sessions to now I'm going every week. We're gonna talk about this and the same thing. Like we are now in
Yeah,
that stage of unpacking,
yeah,
and I
that's
am learning
land.
how to just be more realistic with what's going on around me.
Hmm.
When it comes to relationships, like why am I still holding on to people that already told me what time it is? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
just
yeah,
really doing the work. And so yes, I love that you said that, because
yeah,
even though it gets rough, because you have to face
yeah,
some of the ugliest truth, but when you get on the
yeah,
other side, like this is my second, this probably my third or second or third round of doing this, like
yeah,
recalibrating,
yeah,
is
yeah.
what I call it. Because as we all know, that healing is not it's not a destination, it's a journey. So
Hmm.
sometimes we have to go back in and we got to recalibrate, because life is
Yeah,
bringing us something different this time
right,
around. You know
right.
what I'm saying? And you're not that person that you was
Yeah.
before, when you was in that depression and
Hmm.
anxiety and
Yeah.
whatever else that you was going through. Like you really are able to sit with yourself and breathe
Yeah.
and
Oh
breathe.
my God.
We
Yes.
are not breathing. Men, y'all are not. Y'all ain't taking y'all not doing the breath works. Y'all are not.
I just started getting consistent with my breath work. So at work, before I start, because my job can be pretty demanding, I sit and I take belly breaths and I take alternate nostril breathing too. That's what I do. And I've been learning to breathe more often because it really does calm you down if you just take a moment to do.
Yes,
I think we hear people say all the time, just breathe. And we look at it like it's something negative. No, no, that ain't gonna work. But no,
it really
breathing
does.
helps. Take a minute
It
to stop
really
and
does.
breathe. You
Yes,
will calm down. That is a natural
yes.
um uh uh I want to say Ativan, but it's a natural one of those. Like if you just do some really good breathing, oh my God, breathing is a
Especially when you get really deep into it. Like you said, I heard you say you do the belly breathing, but when it's really good, and I just learned how to do my breath work. Shout out to my best friend. Like I just literally learned when I was overwhelmed, because we keep it raw and real here. I was overwhelmed. My heart rate it done picked up. And I was just like, I was on the phone with her and I said, whoa, wait a minute. I think that, whatever's about to take place. And she said, breathe. I'm like, but am I not breathing? Like you say, when you tell people to breathe, well, am I not breathing? What's going on? And she
right.
was just like, no. So when we say breathe, you literally have to inhale and feel your body rise up. And
Yes.
when you take that breath and it's coming down, you sit in and relax. I have done my breath works to the point where I'll fall asleep now. I'll doze off. Like that it just really changed the game. So we just said all that, just say do your breath work. And when you're doing it correctly, it does matter. Like it allows you to take a moment to just pause and lean in on you and, and just have that moment. I hear a lot of men say that they don't even have the time for themselves. I'm not even available for myself. That is a problem.
That's true.
That is a huge problem because I can only imagine what it is to be a man, especially nowadays with everything that's going on in the world. You still have to be the protector and provider. You can't even be at Mickey Mouse Land and really enjoy it because you have to still wear all of these hats while you are on vacation.
I got something that just dropped in my spirit that is, I'm gonna tell you why though. It's because men, because we're not taught to show emotions. Dang, it just left me. It just left me, and it was heavy too. It was
Oh, I
heavy
hate I
because I
hate when
heard
that happens.
something. I heard something that you said, and it made me um think about something with guys. But it'll come back to me because I was like, "That's the gem." Somebody listening will appreciate
Right. So let's talk
it. It'll
about
come back.
redefining strength.
Mm,
Many people still see vulnerability. Let me rephrase that. A
mhm.
lot of men see vulnerability as a weakness, especially in our community. But you said before that, we've had conversations where that vulnerability is actually a form of a power. Can you
Mhm.
break that down of what that means?
Vulnerability is a new kind of strength, one that leads to peace. So, vulnerability, I think for me, it's a strength because a lot of people, for men, it's counterintuitive, right? For us to be vulnerable because we're taught to hold it in. And when you're being vulnerable, you have to expose yourself. We're taught the opposite, right? So it's really hard for a man to be vulnerable because everything inside of him goes against. So, like you said, it requires having that safe space and people to encourage the conversation. You know, um, I think about like, I could be talking to some friends and, we're out, we hanging out, me and the boys, we doing our thing. And, we might get on a topic that may be a little sensitive. And you'll have some dudes they just gonna talk about it, right? It's almost like being in the barbershop. There are certain places where men do feel comfortable speaking, and places like that are like barbershops. Barbershops are like one of those places for men. But I think about how you have different types of dudes. The dudes that's gonna just give you everything going on with him. Then you got the other dudes that's more reserved. They feel like, like they have something to say, but it's like saying it's gonna make them look like a punk. So they gonna just, they're just gonna sit back with this kind of mean mug on their face or act like they not interested, but really on the inside they are. And it's hard. It's hard for a man to be vulnerable because to be vulnerable for a man is to be emotional. And we're taught to suck up our emotions. So vulnerability literally is counterintuitive to what a man is believed to be or what a man is taught to be.
Huh. So hearing what you said, it's like this topic is so powerful, and it's just like, I guess, being out here and actually having conversation with men and actually hearing the vulnerability in their voice and how men do
Mhm.
want to talk and they do want to have, because we're gonna get there in this episode, Jesus, we're gonna talk about it, how women do need to help create the safe space for men to be able to be vulnerable. But again, like I said earlier, we as women are raising the man child and then also dating. We're not, of course, we're not raising who we date, but like I have a son, I'm a boy mom. But then
Yeah.
I'm also out here in the dating world. And I'm also out here, dating these ladies' sons out here too. So it's imperative that like this conversation is just so, it's so important and it's just so needed because again, I'm raising a son, but I'm also out here in the world dealing with men, whether it's on a intimacy level, friendship, whatever that may be. It's just powerful of how just this conversation is. And then another thing that's like near and dear to my heart as well. I hear a lot of men say that they don't want to talk because what's the point of talking? It ain't gonna do nothing. And like to your point, when you're like, men are, y'all are taught to just hold it all in, but then you still got to go out in the world and like how us women say we wear different capes. So do y'all as men. You have to hold all of your emotions in. I still got to show up for the world. Then I still got to come back home. I got to show up for you. I got to show up for the kids. I still got to show up and then hope that I have time for myself in the midst of that.
Yeah. And a lot of guys don't even know how to have time to themselves because as men, we have this internal message that our worth is tied to what we produce,
Oh,
right?
oh,
For a man, we feel like our worthiness is tied to how much we can provide. So for a lot of men, there is no, it's working is the standard and providing is the standard. And if you don't do that as a man, you ain't shit. And
right,
that's literally the message that's given to men.
right,
And so it's we believe that our worth is tied to what we do and not who we are. And
right.
that's where it gets a little slippery because more than I think I told you this on another episode before, I was beating myself up about feeling like I wasn't being a great provider for my family, and my wife told me, you need to maybe define what being a man means to you.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's not what you think it is. And just hearing that, even almost 8 years ago, it just shifted my mindset from feeling like the only way I provide is by bringing in money. Because my therapist had to bring it to my attention. She said, "You the one that cook, right?" I said, "Yeah, that's you providing for your family." She said, "You do these other things, right? That's you providing for your family. So your worth isn't tied to how much money or what
Mm-hmm.
type of material things you can pull in."
I agree with that. I agree. I could see that. I could see that. Like that is deep. And then it goes back to these roles and just how we all can just work together to understand like we just need to love on y'all a lot more.
We would appreciate it, okay? Because it's
Yes.
it is rough out here, man. It is so hard, and I think that you know it- a support from a woman is everything for us. When we feel like our woman is a safe space that we can come and talk to. One of the songs that I really, really love when I'm feeling emotional is Cry by Life Jennings. Yeah.
Not that song. Come on now.
Listen, that song is like the epitome of pouring out my emotions. When I'm feeling like life is
Yes.
real hard as a man, I listen to Cry by Life Jennings and it all come out. It's waterworks everywhere.
Yes. Yes. Y'all tap in. It be sometimes I listen to it. I be crying because he over here as emotional as he is. No, like, oh my God. Yes, that now that song there is truly deep. Now we're big on community in the ladies lounge and I know you are as well.
Yeah.
And I know like we want this episode to be about nuggets and knowledge that we can drop for our men, in
Yeah.
hopes that they would feel comfortable after this conversation to say like, wow, you know what, maybe I do need to go and go to therapy or like you said, go to a friend. Now, I was a part of a sisterhood. I know that I could go online and on Facebook and I could find these groups of women that want to come together, that want to grow, that want to develop, you know, or what, and get out, just be outside, as we say. How can men create that same safe space for each other if that's possible?
That it is, and there's so many. The thing is, as many black men that are not healed and that are dealing with toxic masculinity, there is a big group of men too that are healed and working on themselves consistently, and
Yes.
they're healing through their trauma. I'll give you a good example. My brother is the president of an organization called Black Man Build, and all they do is empower black men around the country. And they do these men's circles, and they have them all around the United States where black men can come and speak candidly and vulnerably amongst other black men. So there are places and spaces out here for us. They have communities on Facebook. Facebook is really good to find communities, support group communities. My sister passed away last year, and I'm in a siblings grieving community. And guess what? When I'm feeling some type of way, I can go to those people and talk to them and be vulnerable because they understand. They lost a sibling too.
Right.
So it's about having creating that community, but there's already community. And
Mm,
have, if we have men that are more aware of the resources that are available to them, you don't, maybe therapy isn't your route. Maybe you
right.
would like to be in a support group amongst other
Right.
men that may be dealing with some. Man, listen, they got support groups for every damn thing. Single father support groups for men that survive narcissistic abuse from women. They have groups.
Oh,
Yes, they have groups for literally anything you can imagine, especially on Facebook. There is a group for it. I promise you.
wow. Well, y'all heard it here. It's nuggets being dropped. There is the information is here. Like I always say, in each and every episode, we have the resources within our own community, and some of us may be on social media in these social media streets and ain't even using it to your advantage because it is so much that you can look up. You know, if it is something that you are interested in, just finding a brotherhood. Like I would love, let me tell you, I would love to see more brotherhoods out here in the community. Now, and I'm not saying that there's not any. I would just like to see more of it because then you guys can, you know, you as men can hold each other accountable. And speaking of that word accountability, right?
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like for a man to hold each other accountable in love?
Um, to check a brother and tell him to adjust his crown. Sometimes sometimes we need people to tell us stuff that might be going on with us because I tell people sometimes when you inside, you can't see the outside from the inside. You know what I mean? Like from the outside looking in, sometimes some people can see things that you can't see, and you may not even be aware of, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so being accountable means checking your brother when he's wrong, but also supporting him also. And accountability is kind of hard because you have to be vulnerable to take accountability.
Right. Right.
Because to be accountable, you have to be willing to be vulnerable to admit that you're wrong or that you need to do better or you need to do something different. So they kind of intertwine with one another.
Huh. Now, when we talk about what the accountability looks like and the love that is shown and you just named all of these Facebook groups of where these men can can seek the mentorship, can seek the therapy, just find what it sounds like, find these trusted circles. Because
Yeah,
again, I hear a lot of men say, well, it's a running joke. Women are going to talk. That's something that we understand, we get it, okay? That is something that we are going to do. But guess what? A lot of the talks that we are talking is also it is us healing. We're not sitting here talking about y'all all day. Like when we have these sisterhoods, especially being a part of one myself, at the time, it wasn't about male bashing. It was really about how can you grow and be a better woman than you was yesterday. So then now, when you go back home to this man, when you go back home to your son, you can show up for them how
right,
they need you to show up for them. And
right.
so, on your journey of just where you were with your mental health, where you are now, are there some daily practices that you have in place? So if there's, a man that's like, I'm really enjoying this and I'm really just being mindful and just being real with myself, like I do need to start doing the work. How do I even start? What are some daily practices that you have in place?
So I got so many, Brittany, but I'll give you the most helpful ones. Journaling. Journaling by far is the easiest, cheapest thing that you can do as a form of therapy for yourself. Get out a pen and piece of paper and just write down how you feel. If you feel like you can't talk to a therapist or a men's support group, write it out. The purpose is to get the feelings and emotions out, not to keep them in. So, but if you don't want to, if you're not comfortable talking to people, journal. Journaling is a beautiful practice, and it has been shown scientifically that getting things from out of your head and onto paper frees up space in your head to think about other things.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
No,
know?
these are facts. Like
Yeah,
you know how I look at journaling? You know how when you are driving and you have your windshield in front of you, but I
yeah,
need to see, but it is storming. I
right,
can't see in front of me. That journaling is my windshield wipers to go ahead and clear out
right,
that window because I need to be able to see so that way I can still move about my day. Or again, I
right.
hear some men say, like, I don't have the availability even for myself. But if you create that, that space for you to start doing daily practices, if it's just you journaling, then that releases it takes it off of you, it takes it out of here, and then you realize
Mhm.
like, well, damn, I do have an extra, like a day this week that I really ain't got nothing to do. And sometimes I just sit around and I'm in my head and then I'm thinking I got something to do, but no, what you're doing is you're just sitting in your head, and that could be a
Mhm.
day for your self-care, whatever your self-care looks like, because that is essential
Yeah,
for men. Again, women, we self-caring. We going to the spa. We going to get, our hair and nails done, even though it's more to self-care than just the outer appearance.
right.
We are a part of the sisterhood. We are calling our friends and going to therapy. We're doing the work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think journaling is honestly the if you can't do anything else, journaling is literally like the smallest thing that you can start to do to start working on your mental health. Just start to journal. Something else that I do, I read a lot of I listen to a lot of self-help audiobooks, and I also listen to a lot of talks and personal development talks on YouTube. So I listen to a lot of things about like emotional intelligence, how to be more emotionally intelligent. I'm really into just being a very self-aware person. So I'm really always consuming information that will benefit me as a person and the people around me. So in that aspect, I would say I'm a personal development nerd. So I'm always learning something. But I mean, other than journaling and just learning about things, I also like to play I play the piano. I play the drums. Um, doing things that you enjoy is also a form of therapy. A lot of people like men feel like, oh well, I don't have the time. No, Do something that makes you happy, even if it's just something small, like going out and buying yourself a drink or going somewhere and getting something to eat. Like it no matter how small it is, just a way to honor yourself, in some type of way. And I think for men, that's really how we can get started is by understanding that we matter too. And it's okay to be vulnerable because like you said, not only is vulnerability a superpower, but it's the new flex. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Being vulnerable is the new flex because people that are vulnerable and that they're open to the world, they don't have anything to worry about because everything is out there, you know?
Correct.
And so you don't have anything. I think about something Les Brown said, a quote he said. It says, if there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do me no harm.
Ooh. If there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do, Hmm.
Right?
What the kids,
That's what my daughter do.
I got to keep up on what's current now.
My daughter all the time. I be like, stop. Now my wife do it. I just be like, oh my God.
Yes,
Stop.
yes.
But
And
that's the
speaking of your wife, now, here in the ladies' lounge, we hold everybody accountable. And how can women support men in their healing, right? So let's just reflect on everything that we've talked about. And this is for my ladies.
hmm
Hopefully, y'all tuned in, watching this rebroadcast. But now the man, he done broke his silence. He's speaking up. He's doing the work. He got his daily practices going on and things of that nature. Now, ladies, we have to show up in their healing because we want the same in return. We have all of this trauma and emotions that we bring, that we think that we're not bringing into the new relationship with this new man, but we are. But here it is, you got this man who he is doing the work, he is healing. So how can we as women support y'all in your healing?
I think the very first thing is to know when your man is expressing himself. Because sometimes expressing all men don't express themselves the same way. And so some men may be more emotional about it, and some men may be more stoic about it. But if you find that he's trying to express himself, no matter how it comes out, like support that. You know what I mean? However, he's trying to now, obviously not in a violent way, but if he's trying to express himself, like if he's opening up about talking about something even small that he might, because some people they gotta work, you gotta work on it. Some people ain't gonna just be flat out just vulnerable about it all. Some people just do it in small steps, like small doses. And that's like if your man come home and he say, I had a rough day at work and my boss made me feel this way. Listen to that because
Mhm.
he's telling you how he feels, because a lot of the time we don't. I know a lot of women that complain he won't express himself to me. He won't, like, he just closed off and he just won't, because a lot of the times when he was trying to express himself, you didn't catch it.
Right.
You didn't catch it. And it's because you probably didn't know, because he probably doesn't express himself much. But if you can just catch it when he does and just be able to be there in that space with him, you'll see that a man will open up, especially to a woman that he loves. He will, but there's all of this stigma. And so, as a man, just like a woman, y'all have a lot of stuff going through y'all heads, raising kids, making things working, but men, our minds go just as much as y'all brains go too.
Mhm.
So catching it when he is being vulnerable and also validating it, right?
Mhm.
Validating how a person feels is important. You
Right.
know what? Right. That wasn't right. Or
Right.
I can see how you could feel that way.
Right.
You know what I mean? When you validate a person's experience, it makes them more willing to share more.
Right. And I think if I could piggyback off of that too, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but that validation can also, like you said, that man wants to express himself more, and it's not going to come off as a task. It's going to
Right.
be easy because the
Mm,
conversation is flowing. Like, first and foremost, we friends, and I want my friend to be able to know that he can come and talk to me about any and everything. Like, you know how the whole saying is going around, we listen and we don't judge. Like, that is
yeah.
a for real thing. Because I want you to take me as I am, and I want to have that space of I could be vulnerable. But it is
Yeah.
so important to create that space for you as men and respect it. Like, not
Hmm.
only we're creating it, but respect it and don't judge. So if this man, because I'm hearing a lot of women say too, like the men who are vulnerable, I'm not talking about these emotional ones because it's a difference. It's a difference between my emotional men, it's a difference, like you said, and it's a difference between an emotionally intelligent man
And
who
an
can
emotional
speak,
man.
right, who can speak about his feelings. But I have heard women be like, oh, he too emotional. Like he act like he one of us. Like he did, he a B, he a this and that. What?
And
Like,
that's the reason why you have men that don't express themselves. For that very reason. For that very reason. And it's just like, come on, like, don't be shallow. Okay. Let's not be shallow. Let's just call it out. Don't be shallow. Okay. Everybody is on their journey of healing. You know what I mean? Everybody.
mhm,
So for somebody, maybe it took that man a lot to become that way. Maybe he was the complete opposite of that.
right, right, right.
So you don't want to put a man back in a space where he's healing, then he feels invalidated.
Mhm. Because what? I I've seen that. I've seen that in men. I've seen where women um have done that. And that's not a good place that it takes y'all as men. It down that rabbit hole. Like that is so important. And then just going to the chat really quickly.
Yeah.
Wiley G says, and don't always respond, just listen. Just listen to him.
Yes. Yes.
Because we women, we can hear so much when we do listen. Okay, it men do talk. It may not come out how we want it, it may not be at that time, but men do talk. And when you just quiet and really listen, because one thing I've learned, let me tell y'all, Albert, one thing I've learned how to value people a lot more. And a part of me valuing people a lot more, of course, men fall in that category as well. I myself had to do the work and I had to listen a lot more. And
Yeah.
the what I can hear from that man what and that's on any spectrum of just listening, whether you need to walk away, whether you know that this man truly loves you because he is telling it to you, and then you wonder why he don't want to be on the phone all day because he got all of this other stuff going on. He got to unplug. It's so much that you can just learn from this man if
Just by
you would
listening.
just listen.
I think you guys are natural problem solvers. So when a man comes to you with maybe something emotional, the first reaction is to try to solve it. Well, what's wrong? Or how, you know what I mean? Instead of problem solving it, because I tell Erica this all the time. Instead of problem solving, I always say I'm just expressing myself. I'm not asking for anything. I don't have a particular, action that I want to take. I am just expressing how I feel. That's it. That's it.
Right.
And I think when I do tell her that, she's like, okay, all right. You don't, so I'm not solving anything. I'm just listening. And I'm like, yes. And then she's like, okay, I can listen. But I have to tell her that. I verbalize that. Like, I'm just expressing myself. And then she's like, oh, okay, that's
And can I ask? Well, first of all, I love that you said that because can I just say this? We as women, we do need to. You gonna have to help us help you, right? Because like you just said,
yeah,
it's natural for us because what you just described is listening versus fixing,
right.
and but we as women, because we want to automatically get out there and we just want to fix everything because that's just who we are.
Yeah,
Sometimes we do need the help from you. So you would have to overextend yourself because this is something that I heard recently
yeah,
that I would have to overextend myself to have a conversation. But I need that because
yeah,
I need to know how to show up for you.
right,
You get what I'm saying? So,
right,
and one thing I've also learned in my journey is like we have to teach each other how to love each other. We have to teach
right.
each other how to show up for each other. Because you're not that same man that you was 10 years ago, 10 minutes ago, 10 seconds ago.
Yeah,
So, and vice versa. So you have to help me help you. I gotta, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
this is why it's so important for us to have conversations and both parties listen
right, right.
because it's so much that we can miss. I've dated men that who mom is the reason why they turn out the way that they is, and I'm gonna just we could keep it real here, right? Who I dated men who still sucking on their mama titties. Like I'm gonna just put it out there. You get what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And it's
yeah,
so unfortunate because like the women just you do that to these men and then they get out. I mean, these man child, and then when they get out here in the world, they're lost. They don't know what to do. And now you telling them they just gotta man up. Like they gotta go. They gotta man up. But how? And then now, like when we get those type of men, I gotta do damage control.
yeah, you do.
So then now I expect, but I'm also expecting you to talk to me, to tell me what's going on. And you not even in this space to be able to talk and whatever. Now I'm frustrated. Now here it is. We gotta go to therapy, the couples therapy.
Yeah, yeah,
When I just said all that to say is it just really starts from at home. Like I always tell my son, it is okay to express yourself. I know and I hear what your father is telling you, and that's the man in him that's saying that. But let me tell you something. You have to release it. You have to get it out. Whatever the emotion is that you are feeling, release that. I don't care if you have to yell. I don't care if you have to cry because at the end of the day, you said in the beginning of this episode, you are human
yeah.
before you are anything else. And I would rather you release it first before you go out here in the world and release it some other way.
And then
That
they locking us up. So if
hello?
you're not a man that's emotionally intelligent and you don't know how to control your feelings and emotions, then you could end up like one of these black men shot up in the streets because
Yeah.
you don't know how to control yourself because your emotions get the best of you. And now you're in a situation that's pretty compromising because you just didn't know how to express yourself. So it's like it's so important, that men find a way to learn how to be vulnerable and be and just be honest with themselves. I have one other thing that I want to share because I know we coming towards the end. Um, but this is just my last kind of closing quote, which is being vulnerable isn't about falling apart. It's about giving yourself permission to be real, to feel, and to finally release what's been weighing you down.
It is. It is finally time. And I don't want anybody to think that it's too late. It doesn't matter how old you are. I hear often a lot of people will say, "Well, I'm too old for this. I'm too old for that." You're never too old to work on yourself. You're never
Right.
too old to just start the healing. And we and I keep saying this because as a woman, we use the words of affirmations, but just like to even throw it out there to men, you are enough. You are enough to heal. You are man enough to heal. It doesn't make you anything less because you want to take that first. I feel like we open up the doors of the church, but it it doesn't it doesn't make you less of a man to be vulnerable to talk. Like I just really encourage men to just seek the therapy, seek the brotherhood, seek a friend, like create those spaces. And let me tell you something, what I just recently saw on TikTok. I seen a group of men who went on a bros trip. Like, we have the girls trip, but these were a group of men who got out the group chat, and they was like, we outside, and they having a grand time.
Did you see the
No,
black men frolicking videos?
I didn't see that.
Oh my God. So it's been a trend on social media of black men frolicking. So they're on, just look it up, black men frolicking.
Black man frolicking.
And you will see these black men letting being vulnerable is all get out because it's being vulnerable. And they're out in the field, these random guys. I'm gonna do a video. I haven't done my frolicking video yet, but I'm gonna do it. They go out into an empty field and they frolic. They frolic and run across and they run down and they're just like, oh, and they just dancing. I mean, they just hopping and they frolicking. And it's like it's it's a way to be lighthearted and funny because being a man is always such a serious thing. So
Right.
to see men doing something as crazy as frolicking is pretty funny. You know what I mean? Because these are, and you should see these are like a lot of the dudes look real like hard and tough, and next thing you know, their face is just like, oh, I'm frolicking. It is the funniest
I have
shit.
to go look that up because I need all the frolicking on my
It's
timeline. I
called
would love to see
Black
that.
Black Men Frolicking. You
I
have
would
to
love to
see
see that.
it.
But and to your point, what you said, like you like these are, these strong looking men or whatever. We even need that as women. We need to be reminded or
Yeah.
even taught that, you are human. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, because being a man is just so serious. Like I said earlier, we at Disney and you can't even enjoy your vacation because you have to be this protector because you are the provider and you're always watching and it's just like, when are you present?
Yeah. Yeah, I think what really ties all of this together is just helping men and women, but men in this conversation that before you're a man, you're a human. You are
Yes.
a human being that has feelings, emotions, and you have the entire spectrum of feelings and emotions, just like a woman does. Why? Because a woman is a human too. So
Right.
I think if we normalize humanity outside of gender or gender specific roles, men would be more open to expressing themselves when they look at it as a human thing and not a man thing.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And I do believe that, like I said before, it's not too late. You can start right now if you're watching us live. Thank y'all for watching to my live audience. And if you're watching this as a rebroadcast, it's not too late to just start. I would love to see men just do it like Nike, just do it. Just get out there because you will tap in to so much. You will learn so much about who you are. I definitely would love to see my women, be a lot more supportive to these men. Don't bash them out when they over here being vulnerable because ultimately we do want that. We want y'all to be vulnerable. We want the safe. Everybody want this safe space, right? We want to be where it's safe. And if I could leave y'all with this, real strength lies not in how much we can carry, but in how willing we are to release what weighs us down. That's where it starts.
Mm.
And y'all, we have come to an end. That is a wrap on tonight's episode. Man Enough to Heal, the Power in Vulnerability with the one and only Albert Shaw. Y'all, if y'all don't take nothing away from tonight's episode, let's just scratch the whole, just this whole thing of vulnerability. And it's just not for women. Men need to be a lot more vulnerable and tap into that because I see it. I see it, I hear it, I hear the men crying for help. It's time for us to just really bridge that gap, because at the end of the day, we all need each other. And as much as we want to sit here and be like, I don't need this, no, we do. We need each other. And
Yeah.
so, let's just make sure that we are tapped in, locked in as always. Fellas, if you heard nothing else tonight, hear this. Your healing matters. Your feelings are valid, and there is strength in being real. Vulnerability is not a weakness. It is actually courage. It's leadership and it's growth. To every man listening, you are man enough to heal. To every woman tuning in, keep being safe, keep being that safe space, be that support, and believe in the men around you, not just your man, your significant other, but you are raising that man child. You still have to coexist with men at work, so just make sure that we are just being mindful of that as well, because the men are human. Okay, that same love, that same warm hug that we want to receive, and we want these men to put their arms around us, they want our arms around them. Okay. um,
Hey,
I'm,
and
I'm,
some men even enjoy being a little spoon sometimes. I don't mind.
there you go. There you go. Albert, again, thank you so, so much for coming back. And we are not done here. I cannot wait to see what the next episode will be about, when you do come back in the ladies' lounge. As always,
Yeah,
thank you so much for being the frequent flyer here. It is
absolutely.
greatly appreciated. Y'all, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the ladies' lounge podcast here on YouTube. Tap that notification bell so you never miss a conversation that heals, uplifts, and empowers everyone. Until next time, stay open, stay honest, and remember, healing is a journey, it's not a destination. Y'all don't forget, here in the ladies lounge, in this space, we don't shrink, we shine. We don't compete, we connect. And we don't just talk, we grow. This is the ladies lounge, where every woman, every man has a voice, and a story has a power. Y'all, tune in next week. I don't even know what I'm about to do, but y'all, guess what? It is the Ladies Lounge anniversary, 1 year anniversary, y'all. I cannot believe that I have been doing this for a whole year now, y'all. I don't even know how to act.
I'm so happy
And
for you.
I don't even know what I have up my sleeve. I don't even know. Like, I'm just so excited. I just, a whole anniversary party. I don't even know. But make sure you tune in each and every Wednesday here in the Ladies Lounge. I appreciate you all so, so much. Thank you for rocking out with your girl for 1 whole year. We did it, y'all. We made it. I'm so excited to see what the next year is going to bring. Albert, thank you so, so much for taking time out to come chop it up with your girl. Thank you. And also to y'all, I just want to make sure that just to give Albert his flowers. Like, the man that you see here, that comes in often, this is truly who he is outside of this. So when I just wanted to say thank you so very much, because there's work that he do outside of this,
Yeah.
personally, that I just want to thank you for, and just always showing up and definitely showing out here in our community. But until next time, I hope you all have an amazing week. Again, to my fellas, happy Father's Day. I hope you all are enjoying this whole entire month, because it is about you. Make sure you are healing. Make sure you are, showing up and showing out the best way you know how. Until then,